Good afternoon, everybody. Can I have a sound check, please? If you just give me a good thumbs up if you can hear me all right. Excellent. Thank you so much. So far, we have 26 folks in here. It is good to be with you today. Thank you for coming in today. Those of you who don't know me, my name is Michael Robertson. I teach anthropology. I'm also the current online education faculty coordinator. And today we are here to talk about regular and effective contact in Canvas with some time-saving tips. So here's what I want to do to start. I already posted in the chat. I'm going to do it again just in case you can't see it if you just joined up. I am posting a document. And this document is really my rough outline for the day. You can even see it on the screen right now. I'm sharing. I encourage you to download it, to save it, to utilize the links in it, as this can serve as a handy guide to help you save a little time while you are teaching online. So just a couple of housekeeping items before we dive on into the workshop. Let's see, first and foremost, you have my contact information right here. So please feel free to reach out if you have questions, comments, or concerns after the training. I'd be happy to work with you on what an individual needs or a department needs. Secondly, I am dedicating the first 40 minutes, so from about 1 o'clock until 1:40 or so, to presentation, and the last 20 minutes running up to 2 p.m. will be for questions. So I'm happy to take those just to kind of keep things moving along. It would probably be best to hold those until the end, but you are welcome to put them into the chat, and I'll do my best to get to as many as I possibly can in a timely way. And also, I do want to note that if this session is enticing and helpful to you, please consider joining our weekly online teaching drop-in Q&A session. I put the link here to the Faculty Professional Development Canvas where you can view the calendar for our schedule. And that's really a space for online teachers from all across campus to come together and share what works, what's not, and learn from each other. Okay, so I implore you to consider that if you are so inclined. And finally, my last, I'll say housekeeping item is really, I just want to acknowledge you. It's great to be with you today. I appreciate you coming in. I know you are working harder with online teaching than you've ever worked before, and I applaud your efforts, and I applaud you taking the time to come out today. So thank you, thank you, thank you for coming out. Let's make this productive for every single one of us. So if you haven't yet done so, I invite you to download this attachment I put in the chat. And I do want to make a note that what this is really a sample workflow. You'll notice by scrolling down that I break this down essentially how one might function on a Monday, Tuesday through Sunday basis when teaching online. You will also notice that beneath each practice, there are time-saving tips. And each one of these hyperlinks will take you to a Canvas guide on how to do that particular thing. So if you forget something, you can always go back to those links for a refresher as that suits you. So bear in mind, this sample workflow goes from Monday through Sunday, when students would have a full week to complete the unit module. Depending on how you structure your course, maybe you have work due on a Wednesday rather than a Sunday, for example. That's okay. That's perfectly fine. So, but bear in mind that this sample workflow might need some modification based on how you structure your course, but it can certainly apply to any class, the principles of communication and also the principles of efficiency. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just to check the chat, make sure everything is coming through. Yes, I am going to be taking attendance. There's no need to enter your name in the chat. What I'm going to do is just download the Zoom attendance roster. So what you can do for me, if your full name is not reflected in your Zoom name, please go ahead and hover over yourself, click the 3 dots, and make sure your name is accurate. That is all that we need to document this for Flex Credit. I can download the Zoom attendance log afterwards, okay? And if that's any issue, just please reach out to me, and I'm happy to help. Okay, so let's see. Okay, I noticed someone mentioned there's nothing in the chat, so maybe joining a little bit late, you didn't see my attachment. So one last time, what I'm putting in the chat is this document that I have up on the share screen, which I encourage you to keep for your future use. Okay, so let's dive right in. If at any point during the screen share you are unable to hear me or unable to see on screen what I am talking about, please unmute and let me know so I can make it right immediately. I would appreciate that. But I want to take down the music and dive right in by doing some modeling of these time-saving tips in the context of an actual class right now, okay? So first thing I'm gonna do, for the sake of student privacy, as we are recording, I'm gonna shift my window to make sure student names are hidden. But we're going to go through one day at a time what we can do to ensure regular and effective contact, and also do this with a mindfulness that there are only so many hours in a day. So to that point, let's start with a Monday. If your week starts on Monday in your online class, like mine does, I typically start the week by creating a Canvas announcement for all of my students to introduce the upcoming week's topic, learning objectives, or assignments. So what I want to show you is actually a time-saving tip. If you find yourself teaching 2, 3, 5 sections of the same class, then there is a simple way to copy announcements to other courses that will save you time rather than writing 5 multiple announcements. So I'm going to demonstrate that right now in a practice shell, so otherwise my students will be very confused. So in my Canvas course, this is just an empty shell. I'm going to click on announcements. And there are a couple different ways you can approach this start of the week announcement. What I often do.
Hey, Michael.
Come on. Yes.
I think we're still looking at your Word document and you have something else.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. I'm going to make sure I'm sharing the right thing. Can you see Canvas now?
Yeah, we're good.
Perfect. Thank you so much for letting me know. I appreciate that. Okay, so what we're going to do here is create a new announcement. And then we're going to work on copying it into another section that we teach. So usually it's something generic like welcome, hello, welcome to week 12, because we're in week 11 right now. And then in the text box, I know mine looks a little different from yours. In the text box, I'm just going to put something generic of, hello, everyone. Hope you are doing well. And I would write more than this. This week, we are discussing hominin evolution, because y'all are with an anthropologist, and so we have to talk a little bit about anthropology today, yada, yada, yada. And then best regards, me. Okay, so knowing that we would have a longer announcement than this, just keeping that in mind, once we post this announcement, okay, by saving that announcement, it will display much like this. However, take a look. If we click these 3 dots at the top right-hand side, there's some interesting and helpful options here. For example, copy to. I'm going to click on that. And let's say I'm teaching another section of the same exact class. I could do the old copy and paste, open up the next course and paste it in there and so on, but this is a faster way. I'm going to copy it to, and I'm going to click this drop-down menu and just look at all my courses and decide which one I want it to go to. So let's say I'd like that one to go here, copy it, and it's done. So now this announcement that I just created in one section of my class is now visible in this second section of my class. So if I had another section, then I would repeat that process the same way. Okay, so I could copy two and then choose the second course that I want it to go to, and then the third course, and so on and so forth. So that is one way that every Monday, that's part of my routine. Every Monday, I write this type of announcement and I copy it to other courses where that announcement applies. And that helps me save just a bit of time. So here's another time-saving tip that I like to do on Mondays. And it deals with checking my email and Canvas inbox. Depending on what your communication plan is, students might send you emails, they might send you a message through the Canvas inbox, maybe a combination of the two. Whichever way you prefer, if you get messages from multiple students in the same class, and I'm going to pick on some of the faculty participants in the past summer cultural curriculum audit here. Let's say that 4 students contact me over the weekend with relatively the same question or the same comment as, oh, the quiz won't load, or I didn't get my work done in time. Well, I could take minutes and respond to each of those 4 individual students one at a time. But if I want to save that time, here's what I do. I go to the Canvas inbox right here. And in the Canvas inbox, I'm going to click this pencil icon to compose a new message. And then I'm going to select the course that those students are in. It will be in your favorite courses. I'm going to go for, I'll just click this one just to show faculty names instead of student names. And then in the To field, I'm going to select the students that I wish this message to go to. So I'll say there's one student that emailed me, there's another student that emailed me, there's a third, and there is the fourth that emailed me. And I'll say in my subject line, anthropology question. Now, here's the important bit. I'm going to make sure and I check this box that sends an individual message to each recipient. So that way, when whatever I write down here is going to be answering the question or addressing the issue, however way I see fit, but it's going to send 4 separate emails to these students, as opposed to sending one big email with everyone attached to it. Okay, so for me, that is a way to save time. If I want to reach out to just a handful of students, but I still want to keep things individualized, because that way when these students reply to me, it will only come to me as opposed to the remaining 3. Okay, so that's why I always encourage you to check this box, send an individual message to each participant. Okay, so I'm not going to send this because that might confuse poor Becky, James, Kim, and Jason. So I'm going to close that up. But those are 2 time-saving tips to think about on a Monday. And of course, this is a loose schedule. You can skip around a bit, but for me, I always like to reach out in some way, shape, or form that first day of the school week or that first day of the work week for my students. Let's see. So skipping on down to Tuesday. What do I do the next day to save some time? Tuesday for me often comes down to grading day. And depending on how you structure your class, you might have a lot of grading, you might have a little grading, maybe the quizzes grade automatically. For me, it's a combination. It's a combination of small quizzes, writing assignments, and short answer assignments. So what I want to show you how to do is to save time by reaching out to students on a conditional basis. And I honestly, I loved this tool. It is one way for me to be, dare I say, a little bit more intrusive with my student communication, as opposed to waiting for a student to reach out to me regarding some sort of issue or question. I prefer to reach out to them and hopefully preemptively address the situation. So I'm going to click on grades and slide this over to hide the student names.
Michael? Sorry,
Yes.
I have a question, and I sorry, and I was just trying to fiddle around on my email, or what is it, inbox for the Canvas. So apologize, I'm behind still. Is there a way to like email all classes?
In one email? No, I would suggest the announcement, the copied announcement technique that I showed first before the inbox.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, so, oh, you're welcome. So what we're looking at here is my gradebook. Again, I've hidden the student names. That's why the window slid over. And this is just a few of the assignments. So what I want to show you how to do here is to message students based on a conditional basis for maybe missing some work, okay? So what I've done here, this is just one module, last week's module for week 10. And what I like to do is click on an assignment. I'll say their quiz, okay, their week 10 check-in quiz. And I'm gonna message students who didn't do something, so who haven't submitted yet, okay? So they missed that quiz. Maybe I'll keep the subject line the same, maybe not. But then I put something in here that says, you know, hello, I hope everything is okay. I look forward to, you know, checking in with you about missing this assignment. It's important, and I'd be happy to work with you if something came up and you need more time. Something to that effect. And once you hit send message, then it will send an individual message to each of those students who have not submitted that assignment. Okay, conditionals also go for a grading threshold. So after you've graded, if you want to message students who didn't pass, then you can set that up as well. You just select scored less than, and then you enter a numeric value here. And you can reach out to individuals based on that threshold as well. For more of the grading, when I have 5 sections of students, you know, 40 students apiece or something like that, I typically have a message ready to go that I've typed up that's relatively generic, that says, you know, again, hey, I noticed you missed this work. Let's talk. Let's get you caught up. And I will do this in each of my sections and just copy and paste the same message from one class to the next class. Okay, so I'll just copy paste. Again, it serves the same function. So I don't see any harm at all of copying and pasting this message for students who may have missed an assignment on that Tuesday morning. Another thing to think about for time-saving tips in this gradebook is how we do our grading. So for me, typically, you're looking at a usual week in my cultural anthropology course, at least a week of submissions. There's more to it than just assignments. There's content too. But typically, we'd have a discussion, a quiz, some writing, and then some questions out of the textbook every single week. What I want to think about is how can I grade these efficiently, but also very, very thoroughly. So here's what I usually do. Let's say I'll take the chapter 8 reading questions here. And this is live. This is a live class. So I'm actually going to, I'm going to make sure that I'm doing this right so my students don't get confused. But I'm going to sort by missing. And so that way, oh my goodness, yeah. So I need to reach out to some folks because quite a few seem to miss the chapter 8 reading questions. Maybe it was a little long. So I'm going to go through those top ones and just zip down 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. But then I'm also going to do that whole message of, hey, I noticed you missed. What's going on? I want to communicate with you to get you caught up. If you need another day, I'll give you another day, not a problem. But now that I have those zeros filled in for missing that assignment, what I'm going to do is click these 3 dots again and set my default grade. In this default grade box, the assignment is out of 10, so I'm going to give it a 10. And I am not going to check this box to overwrite already entered grades, because otherwise it'll overwrite those zeros I just assigned. But then I'm going to set default grades. Canvas usually takes about 5 seconds. It's thinking real hard about this chapter 8 questions. And then there you go, 30 scores have been updated. And now look, now the grades are entered there. Now again, I'm not done because I haven't looked at the work yet, but the scores are represented and I can modify them in our next step, okay? So that's a key tip for me. I would do that going through each one of these assignments, is assign zeros to those who did not submit with the message, hey, let's communicate, let's talk about this, what happened? And then I would do the set default grade rather than clicking on 1 and doing this, 10, 10, because that's going to take a lot of time, depending on how many assignments you provide. Okay, so now the next step of my grading is to actually go into the Canvas speed grader. So to do that, I'm going to click on these 3 dots and I'm going to click on the speed grader too. And in fairness, I did forewarn my students that I was doing a training today and they might see a message from me to this effect. So the students are informed, but this is a test student just to give you a sample, and I will also hide the student names for student privacy. Okay, wonderful. So what I'm going to do here is, let's actually look at a real submission here. Okay, perfect. So a real submission, there are 3 questions to answer out of the book. And they already have a score 10 out of 10. I'm going to go through and I'm going to make sure they actually, earned that grade. And maybe they did. So that's wonderful. So I'm going to make sure, and I do this ahead of time, and I keep them from one semester to the next semester. Honestly, I do. Great work on these questions. You provided plenty of details from chapter 8 to support your ideas, etc., etc. And normally I would click submit, but again, I don't want to confuse student number 24 just yet. But again, I would copy and I would skip to the next student and I would paste, again, on the condition that they earned the grade. But at least if I am copying and pasting and moving forward, I can very easily modify this message in the assignment comment. I could say something like, great start on these questions, but you are missing number 3. So I had to take a few points off, or something to that effect. Or do you need more time? Or do you have a question about number 3? Again, something to that effect. So when I go through the speed grader, I use it indeed just for that. I read through and I very quickly assign these comments because they're already graded. Of course, if somebody's missing number 3, then they're going to lose some points on that assignment too. One thing, if you're not aware, that helps me move through quickly, oops, not that button, wrong button, are the keyboard shortcuts. I'm not exactly sure why Canvas chose these particular keyboard shortcuts, but nevertheless, I encourage you to think about using them. Tapping the letter J on your keyboard allows you to see the next student, whereas K allows you to see the previous student. Those are the 2 that I primarily use when I'm grading. So for example, I can just hit J, J, J to move through these rather quickly. Of course, I'm not a computer, I can't read that fast, but I can skim through, paste the comments, make sure the grade is good, and then move on to the next student by clicking J. Or if I need to go back, click K, and you scroll backwards too. And I find that's much quicker than using this list and figuring out who I've graded, who I didn't grade, who I might need to look at again. I just go in the order that they were submitted in. You notice that's the order here, the order in which they are submitted. Okay, so bear in mind those keyboard shortcuts J and K are my go-tos, and that might help cut down a little bit of time that goes into leaving these comments on the assignments. All right, so let's shift on back to our outline, because Tuesday is a busy day. Grading takes a while. Okay, grading takes a bit depending on your sections and type of assignments, so on and so forth. But again, writing general comments beforehand and having them ready to copy paste can definitely save you time. Another thing that I want to highlight for the speed grader is considering using Canvas rubrics. This is something that for me is a bit of a front-loaded workload. And what that means is if I take my time to prepare my rubrics early on in the semester, or dare I say over an intersession or over a break, it reduces the workload I have throughout the upcoming semester. So just to give you a very brief sample, and I know those of you who went through growing with Canvas or a Canvas training generally would have this knowledge ready to go. But I do want to show you what that looks like in the speed grader and how it can help reduce your workload a bit. All right, so again, I'm in my modules page. I'm looking at my week. This week, yeah, we'll do this one. Here is a discussion forum. And what I do every semester in every class is I write up a discussion forum rubric that is general enough to work in the entire semester of discussion forums. Now, I can certainly modify it, and oftentimes I do, but a lot of the time it is sufficient as is, because generally I ask for the same things from discussion group to discussion group. They have to post something substantive and academic, and they have to reply to a classmate, something substantive and academic. So if I go into the speed grader, okay, so I've selected my rubric here, okay, in the assignment settings. If I go to my speed grader, it looks a little different from the questions we were just looking at. Okay, so here's a student who made a submission. Let's see, they're talking about a rite of passage, and it's only Tuesday, they have until Sunday, but it looks like they have not yet replied to a student. So what I'll do now is click on View Rubric, and I have set up various options here. For example, the student makes their initial post. Let's say I read through this and it's on point, it's excellent. Nice work. You get 5 out of 5 points on your initial post. And then I scroll down and student replies to a classmate. Well, they haven't done that yet. So in that case, I'm going to select this option. I don't see a classmate reply for me here. We want to know what you think. So please do your best to reply to a classmate next time. And then I would click Save, and then the student would be reflected with the score of 5 out of 10 on that forum. Okay, I clicked away. Just clicked on the wrong one. There we go. So 5 out of 10 on that one. You certainly can add additional commentary here, and often I do. If a student makes a stellar comment or a stellar point in the forum, that's wonderful. That's excellent. But what I want you to think about for discussion forums is how do we ensure that students are interacting with each other in an effective way? Okay, because these comments are on the back end, they're in the gradebook. Only the student poster gets to see how we fill out this rubric and what we might type in here along with their grade. Okay, so let's also think about managing forums while they are still ongoing. Let's see, for that, I'm going to switch on over. Sorry, I had this strategically set up so that I know which class to demonstrate certain things. Okay, great. Let's do DE facilitators. Wonderful. Okay, so I'm going to hop on down to Wednesday, right? On Wednesday, usually that's my day in this workflow to check in on the discussion forums. I have a discussion every single week, and it has to do with something related to a topic within the lesson or within the textbook, where students always have to make their own post and always have to reply to at least one classmate. One thing that I encourage you to consider is simplifying it. Assign students into smaller discussion groups. So my class of 40 can be divided into 4 groups of 10. So here's what that looks like. Here we are back in Canvas. In your class, we want to go to people. And this class in particular is full of our faculty colleagues who are distance education facilitators. But what I'm going to do is split them up. I'm going to create a group set by clicking this button here. And I'm going to say sample discussion groups. And then here I'm going to split students into 4 groups. And they're going to be random. They're going to be randomized. You can do it yourself if you want to, and that's great. But for me, a lot of times it's random. And then I'll save that. Now Canvas is thinking awful hard, and look what we did. So now we have 4 groups of students. If you open them up, you see who's in which group. Let's say, for example, I don't know, just hypothetically, I know that that Nancy and Allison might not work well together. So you just drag and switch. You can do that. You can shift these around however way that you want, depending on numerous factors. But now the discussion groups are set. So now when I go to a discussion forum in my class, look at this. We click on discussions. Let's say I'll find the discussion forum of the week. We'll just do student services Q&A forum. I'm going to edit this forum. And when I click on edit, I'm going to make sure to check that this is a group discussion. And then from there, I'm going to select discussion groups, the group we just created in people. And then I'm going to click save. And now look, this is different. Okay, so now we have group 1, group 2, group 3, and group 4. So what does this mean for us as instructors? This means now, instead of scrolling down and having to sift through 40 different students and their replies to classmates, which can easily get into well over 100 posts, I have 4 smaller groups that I can manage. And I go into each discussion group. See, this filters it, so it's just group 2, and clearly there's nothing here yet. That's okay. But this would only be the 10 students in discussion group 2. And then even furthermore, we do not have to reply to each individual in a discussion forum. What I will often do, again, on Wednesdays, is I will chime in on the early discussion and maybe pose a question, or maybe follow up, or maybe offer kudos to where the discussion is headed, okay? I do not reply to every single student in the forum itself. Honestly, I like to see where the conversation goes, but I also like to be able to track what's going on. And breaking them into different groups, that helps me do that. That helps me do that more effectively. By clicking switch group here, I can check in on group 3, or I can jump around between groups as I need to, okay? So just one thing to consider, this is mentioned in our workflow, Think about how that might help you in your class. And think about how that might also help your students. And if someone is post in front of all 40 of their classmates, maybe a smaller group of 10, or maybe a smaller group of 6 would encourage them to open up a little bit more freely. Okay, so consider that in the context of your course. Again, the time-saving tip, there's no need to reply to every single student in the forum. I like to reply to a couple students within each group before moving on to the next one. I do encourage you, do this strategically. I keep an old-fashioned list with pencil and paper. I print out my roster, and every time I respond to them in the weekly forum, I put a check next to their name. That way I know that I'm not always responding to, Becky or Nancy, that I'm responding to all of my students at some point or another within a period of several weeks. Okay. I utilize the speed grader, as I showed previously, to give everyone a comment or some feedback. That is where I work more efficiently, as opposed to scrolling down a long forum and worrying about responding to each individual interaction that occurs there. Now, another thing that might save you time and also might help get things moving a bit, if no students have posted by Wednesday in your forum, use the gradebook. Message students who have not submitted yet, like I showed previously, and just let them know. Have something written ahead of time. Again, mine is rather generic. I use it week after week. Hello, I notice you haven't posted yet in this week's forum. I encourage you to do so. We all want to hear from you. Thank you. And if you keep that rhythm going for the first few weeks, your forums will be full by Wednesday evening, or certainly by Thursday morning. Folks will get on board and realize, oh, this is the expectation. Okay, so something to do on Wednesdays. Typically, that's my discussion forum day, where I go through them and check on the progress. Moving right along to Thursday. Use the gradebook to send a message to students who have not submitted work, inviting and encouraging them to get started and reminding them to contact you with questions. Again, I already showed this. Rather, when I showed this last time, it was referring to missing work from the previous week. On Thursday, I like to follow up and say, hey, work's due on Sunday. We want to hear from you. I want to see your stuff. Do your best to get it done. And again, this is a pre-written message. I copy and paste into that gradebook messenger. On Fridays, this is when I prepare ahead of time. I compose an announcement reminding students of the assignments due over the weekend. So let me show you what this looks like in the context of my class. In announcements, here we go. All right, so here's just an example. Okay, here we go. It could be something very simple and to the point. Does not have to be long. And this is an announcement I wrote on a Friday. And when you write an announcement and you edit that announcement, I usually delay posting. If I write an announcement on Friday, I will set it to go out on Sunday. And you can even choose, a really obscure time, something like, 4:13 a.m. So your students think that you're up at all hours waiting for their work to come in. That's fine, okay? But that's my prep for the weekend on Friday. And again, time-saving tip, if you teach multiple sections, you can copy that announcement from one course to another course. Or if you're teaching different ones, you just copy and paste that announcement to the text box and make the modifications as you need. It can be simple or it can be quite detailed, whatever you think would be the most impactful for your classes, any workload. And then Saturday and Sunday, Okay, I know, weekend. But my weekly assignments are always due on Sunday, just before midnight. So I do make a point to at least check in on my email in case there are any issues. If something isn't working, a quiz is not published, or a video is not playing, if I find out about it, Saturday morning, and I fix it Saturday morning, then it saves me a pretty big headache on Monday morning when I get this slurry of emails from panicked students who can't see a video properly. So one thing that I encourage you to think about is perhaps using the Canvas app in order to help streamline this type of communication. You can do this on a smartphone, or you can do this on an app, but just to give you a very brief rundown, what I'm doing now is sharing the screen on my iPad. I do this in class quite a bit, but in the Canvas app, which should be opening right now. Yes. Perfect. And it's actually a pretty helpful way to streamline this communication, because sometimes I don't need to respond. I just need to check my inbox and see that 15 of my students can't open a quiz. And then I'll just log in and I'll fix it right away. As opposed to having to respond to each 15, I'll just solve the problem because I have the information at my fingertips through the app, and then the issue is resolved. So if that's something that suits you, I encourage you to think about it. It's a free app. It's relatively easy to implement. You just log in on your phone or tablet like you would on the computer. You can even use this to check in on discussion forums. And this is a good way to save time. If you click on discussions, Canvas will tell you, for example, that right here, that top forum, I have 20 unread posts in that forum. So I got to get in that forum and check it out. Or others might say, like this one on top, it has 0. So I'm going to make sure to reach out to students who haven't done anything in that forum yet, which in this case is the whole class, and remind them to. So again, if you're looking for ways to cut out a little bit of a few minutes of staying in touch with what's going on in your class, the app might be a helpful approach for you to consider. All right, I'm going to take that off the screen now. Perfect. And that brings us to the end of our week. And then, honestly, folks, come Monday morning, I do it all again. Create that announcement for the week, copy to other courses. Email students who responded to me, email to them in bunches instead of one at a time to save a little time. So all of these strategies do provide regular and effective contact, but also help me save time. That being said, we are at 1:44 p.m. now. I know we started a little bit after the hour, so we're right at that 40-minute mark. I do want to take a pause here and open it up to questions, comments, or ideas. You can either use the chat. I'm going to stop sharing. You can use the chat, or you can simply unmute, and I am happy to answer what I can. I'm looking at the chat right now. Let's see. Okay, I'll just call them out. Clarissa, I saw your question. If the scores change, do students get 2 announcements for their grade? They should, depending on their notification settings. Depending on what students have set up in their notification settings, they would get 1 score and then they would get another score. It might be advantageous to make the assignment invisible until you are ready for them to see their grade. How do we download the Zoom attendance roster? You know what? I'll show you that in a few minutes. I want to knock out the Canvas questions first, Janae. But yeah, I'd be happy to show you that. Let's see. Julie, to the same point, if you give full points to start, don't the students get confused? Again, generally, I think I forgot to show that. I do make the assignments invisible until I am done grading them. Okay, so that way they don't get confused when they're first awarded a 10 and then it drops down to a 6. Okay. Let's see, and please feel free to unmute.
Can you show us how to make it invisible?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
It was on my list of notes that got lost in the shuffle. I apologize. So let me. Okay. So we should be, yes, you should be looking at Canvas right now. If not, please let me know. So what I'm going to do is, you know what, that's a bad example. Well, no, that's fine. I'll use the DE facilitators. It's full of faculty. But for privacy reasons, it just makes sense. Okay. So what we can do is a couple of things. Right here for the view. Okay, I'm sorry, I clicked the wrong thing. I'm going to click this gear wheel right here. Okay, at the top right corner of the gradebook. And over here, I'm going to click grade posting policy. And once I do that, currently it says automatically post grades. Okay, so if I'm going to assign everybody a 10 first, but then possibly change that, then I don't want them to be automatically posted. I want them to be manually posted. So I'm going to click on manually post grades. I'm going to update. And now look at my gradebook. Now it says manual, manual, manual. So let's say if I assign a grade here, this is a complete, the student would not get a notification yet because I have not revealed the gradebook. Once you are done grading, so you give everybody, see that little eyeball is crossed out, so that means they can't see it, okay? Once you are done with your grading, you can click on these three dots, click on grade posting policy, and then you can switch it to automatically. And that will just affect this assignment that we're looking at here. So I'll click save. And now it will be revealed. Okay, so that manual is gone, right? And then I'm going to click post grades. And I'll just do grade. I don't want to confuse these poor faculty. So there we go. And then now those grades would be visible. So you can do that one assignment at a time. Okay, if you prefer to just modify one at a time, or by clicking this gear wheel, you can do it for everything in your gradebook. And then you can reveal them whenever you are ready to. Just be sure that you do indeed reveal them, because otherwise students are going to be very confused if they don't see the results of their work.
But Michael, doesn't it send grades when you click post grades? Does it not? Like that, does it?
It does send, yes. If the students have their notifications on, when I click, there's no grades to post. If I click here to post grades, it will post the grades for that one assignment.
Okay, so that's a way to do it where you don't have to go back and forth and switch. But okay, yes.
Okay. But it is still set on manual. So if I were to grade somebody else,
you got to post it.
That one would be withheld. So I like to do kind of an all or nothing sort of thing. You know what I mean?
I see. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But thank you for that question. I apologize I didn't show that earlier. That's a great point to think about. Yes. Let me refer, I'm scrolling up in the chat. Let's see. Okay, Veronica asked, do students receive an email when Canvas announcements are made? They should, depending on their notification settings. I know for me, for my classes, I always tell my students in that first week how to check their notification settings, how to make sure that the announcements get pushed right to their email, how to download the app and make sure that the notifications get pushed to their phone through the app. Again, that's on the student end, they can turn those off. So I encourage my students to keep them on. Okay, let's see. I
have a
see
quick
Jade. Oh, yes, Patrick.
Yeah. So in SpeedGrader, when you're grading like PDFs, you have the ability to leave comments and draw on their homework and like even write into their homework.
Yeah.
My question is because I have a lot of documents, like music documents, since I teach in the music department, where I'd like to like leave notes like on a piece of music, maybe like circle this. But those tools I've seen in SpeedGrader, is there a way to turn those on when you make a page? Because I haven't found them yet. I was wondering if, hopefully that question makes sense, or else I can share my screen and show you what I mean.
Let me just clarify. So in the SpeedGrader, what do you mean by creating a page to leave comments?
I mean, like, do you mind if I just share my screen?
Sure, by all means.
All right, so I'm probably breaking some FERPA law, but I know CC wouldn't care. So here's her homework. And you know how when you correct it, you can like leave a comment, or you can draw into the score, or that kind of thing. So I guess my question is, these tools up here that I find really useful for grading people's homework, is there a way we can use those tools when we post like a document in Canvas too? Because I'm just basically writing all over their PDF, and I find it helpful, especially in music, because we like to do a lot of analysis stuff here.
I see. So you want to create a separate document, house it on a page that has similar annotation. You know, I'm not aware of any Canvas tools that would do that. I do know it's pretty standard with a PDF editor, whatever computer you have, Preview, Adobe, that would usually come pretty standard, and then you can upload that modified document. Within Canvas, I'm not aware of anything that does that. And if anybody is aware, I'd love to hear from you.
Okay, just curious.
Yeah.
Pat, I got some things I could share with you that are outside Canvas.
Oh, okay. I'll talk to Dr. K.
Excellent. Collaboration, that works. Thank you. Let's see. Okay. I'm just checking the chat. Please unmute. We have just a few minutes left. My students do not check their announcements until I email them to let them know that I posted an announcement. I never knew how to tell them to turn on that notification. Can you walk us through that? Yeah, sure. It's so let's say that you're my class during the first week. I would either do this over Zoom, or I would do this in a very short, step-by-step tutorial or a video for them. What you do is, let me get out of here. Okay, so whether you're in faculty view or student view, the process is the same. We go to our account at the top left. This is also where I show students how to do their picture, how to choose their pronoun if they'd like to. But the first option right here is notifications. And on this page, there's a lot of stuff to look at. There's a lot of options here. The one for announcements is right here. So you want to make sure that these, well, you don't have to worry about SMS, that's for text messaging, but at least the first two are highlighted green. If your students did this and turned them off, then they would not see your announcements ever until they log into Canvas and click announcements and so on. I tell my students, do notify immediately, because there's also a daily summary, which usually goes out around 6 p.m. There's also a weekly summary. I think that goes out on Saturday evenings. If I do an announcement, I'd like my students to see it immediately. So I choose that first one. So yeah, this is exactly what I do with my students that first day or during that first week, show them how to do that process. So I'd encourage you to do the same next go around, or even now. You know, if you're Zooming with your class and you see this as a useful amount of 2 minutes of your time, show them how. Make sure that they're aware of it, because a lot of students aren't aware. Okay. Okay, great. Yeah, you don't Zoom, that's fine. So, occasionally I've had a delay from when a student sends a message and I receive the email notice. Karina, I wish I knew what caused that. Sometimes that happens to me too. I will get something through Canvas that doesn't get pushed to my email for a couple of hours. So I'm not exactly sure why that happens. Maybe it's just a little bit slow on that. But one thing you might want to do, just take a look at your own notifications and make sure that they're set the way that you'd like them. So that there might be something there too. You know, maybe you're getting the end of day announcement as opposed to immediate announcements. Okay. I did want to circle back. I want to be sure to acknowledge Janae's question, as this might save folks time as well, on how to download a Zoom attendance roster. So what I'm going to do is go to Viking Portal, log in, and I'm going to go to Confer Zoom. I'm going to log in. I always feel funny when I'm on Zoom and I'm talking about Zoom. It's very meta for me. And then we're going to go to reports. All right. And then usage. And then I'm going to select a certain time range. So I'm going to go back to last week, search, and here we go. So here's a list of all of my meetings on Zoom within the past week, or the past 5 days, really. And when I find the one that I want, so maybe one for your class, so on, you scroll on over and you look at the participant list. That's a link. Click on it and look, it shows you who was there by name, by email, if they have a LBCC email. It even shows you how long they were there, what time they joined, what time they left. Do note if a student logs in and they get kicked out after like a minute, which is probably what happened here with Julie, it will show them logging in twice. So just be mindful of that in your attendance records. You can export this as an Excel spreadsheet. This is how I take attendance. You do want to be sure, as I mentioned at the beginning of this training, if someone's on a phone number or using someone else's account, do make sure that they change their name in Zoom, just so you know who's there. Okay, but yeah, I love this tool. I used to do the screenshot thing or the chat box thing. This is easier, saves me time. Okay, how far does this go, Brian? As far as I know, it goes back as long as we want. I mean, if I go back to September 1st, yeah, now I have 34 meetings to sift through. So yeah, you could go back to the beginning of the semester and check on your class attendance that way. Absolutely. All right, folks. So we are at that 2 o'clock hour. I know some folks have to teach. If I may put one more thing in the chat, I would greatly appreciate it. What I have here is a very, very brief evaluation survey of this workshop, which also asks what other time-saving tips you would like to see in a future workshop. So if you would take a minute, click that link, fill out the survey. I would really appreciate the feedback. And I do thank you all for your time coming out today. I'll stick around for a few more minutes if anybody wants to continue the dialogue, but I will end the recording, and this should be up on FPD Canvas within a day or two with closed captions. Thank you so much, and have a marvelous day if you have to go.
Thank you, Michael.